meeting with the open part. Mayor, if you call roll, please.
Okay, Mr. Kirby.
Here.
Mr. Lopez.
Here.
Mr. Hennis.
Here.
Mr. Wright.
Here.
And Mrs. Harrington. Here.
We are. I gotta get on the road too. Matter of fact.
I think I had it up there.
No, I changed. I started my own. We are down to Nat, you're on. Okay, planning and renovation. Nope. Am I missing any? I say call to order and roll call.
No problem, yes, but it's not gonna be back.
All right.
So.
All the above. Whoever's leading off, please.
Yes. We have Crystal, our headmaster of PACE, is going to begin. She has a presentation. We want to keep you all informed of our progress of PACE and registration and all kinds of good stuff. And I'd ask that she come on out. And then as it relates to the renovations, of course, she and Dr. Strong can address that particular topic. So, Zanzi, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Hennis. That's the last time I'm going to say that.
That's good.
Board members and Dr. Battle, thank you for having me here to give you some updates on PACE. I am going to present to you where we currently are in the process, sharing a little bit of information about the 5 spaces that we have been working on. The very first slide is actually the marketing slide, and I just wanted to let you know so I didn't scare you. As soon as I go to that slide, the advertisement is going to start to play automatically. And the advertisement is the first video advertisement that we created for the school. It was definitely a challenge, and it made us be very creative because, you know, we don't have anything visually. And so it was thinking about how we could appeal to students. So I took all of the information that the students shared with me in their focus groups about what they felt other kids would be interested in hearing and what would catch their attention, along with some of the most important things that came out of our community partners' discussions and conversations about what we should share, just as a quick intro to what PACE is going to be. Now, the visuals are pretty accurate. I think there's only one adjustment or update to one of the stills in here, one of the pictures, and it's just a bit of architectural changes with the way that the front looks in trees. But everything else is pretty consistent with where we're going. Are you bored with the traditional format of learning in schools? Would you rather learn in a smaller environment that includes projects, presentations, career exploration, and more? Great news, we have a school for you. Pathways Accelerating Career Experiences, or PACE, is a brand new high school opening in Casa Grande for the 2023-24 school year for freshmen. We want to personalize your learning and collaborate with you to develop a plan that helps you meet your learning targets. Our learning spaces will be designed to support mastery and college and career focus. We partnered with our community businesses in order to allow students to have opportunities for internships, mentoring, and community engagement. Enrollment is limited and families are already saving their seats. Scan the QR code or save your seat at CGUHSD.org/PACE and set the pace for your future. So on this particular slide, you'll see different, I have just a few that some of the kids did when we went to do the focus groups. The goal was to get them to act as if they were developing an advertisement for the school based on the information that we shared with them and the feedback that we got from them during those focus groups. And so those are some of the visuals you'll see on this page. All of the input that they gave me, I did include in some of the wording in the advertisement and in some of the future things that we're going to be doing. I wanted to make sure that their voices were included and they saw that when they had a chance to see this. Next is facilities. Again, a warning, this music is much louder than the commercial, so I'm gonna adjust as it plays. But I added a certain energy of music to the virtual tour because I want kids to feel a certain sense of excitement and a certain tone and a feel of urgency of, okay, this is gonna be great, this is gonna be grand, I'm ready to go, let's do this now. And so that's why you hear the music that you hear.
So just a quick question. Just give us a basic timeline, just for, for everybody that's in the room, of when PACE was kind of conceptualized and the whole timeline. I just a short synopsis, so that we've been talking about this for a while now.
Yes,
And been going through the whole gyrations, et cetera, with the construction and different things, but just give kind of a basic timeline so that everybody understands where we are and how we got to where we're at today.
The initial idea and the application for the grant was done prior to me getting here, and Dr. Battle would know
Sure.
exactly when that was.
sure. Thank you for that, Ms. Nancy, and thank you for that, Mr. Hennis. As you all know, as I have the pleasure to interview in this room, you all mentioned the importance of workforce and what you'd like to continue, as there had been some programs that were in this building. So based upon our strategic plan and working with a committee of people, our directors mostly, we established a rhythm of meetings to talk about possibilities of the workforce in 21st century, which we are already in, as well as the workforce here in Casa Grande. So having had the opportunity to work with the mayor and the workforce development program, he's working with a number of cities and superintendents and mayors across the state particularly, then it seemed to be aligned with what we could do here in Casa Grande. I had an opportunity to meet with Lucid, Nicola, and some of you were part of those meetings, as well as hear from our businesses that are already here, local agency, and then we looked at data as it relates to the workforce and the opportunity for our economy and our student talent that needed to be developed. So that all happened, I would say, unrivaled. So once we were given permission to hire a headmaster to help with facilitation of that timeline, we hired Crystal last spring, and she was able to start on foot July. Yeah, she went to a few meetings with me last year. I tried not to bother her, she was being paid by a different district. And so with that said, sir, we started in July, prior to her. And then now that she's here, she's had regular standing meetings, and she can share a little bit about the committee work that's been established and the feedback, and she's talked about focus groups before. So you're right, sir, we've been talking about this for a long period of time. And we recognize once hired Dr. Strong, where possible revenue would be able to help support, and application for a new school venture grant to help support the initial startup. So that initial startup is absolutely funding positions that we currently have. And now we're ready to start with what you'll see on the agenda tonight, our items to help towards facility remodel.
That's great, thank you.
I got a question. I guess I'm having trouble wrapping my arms around how we're going to implement this, I guess. And I guess maybe you can tell me, I think I read somewhere where there's a maximum enrollment here of 175 or 195, something like that.
Well, initially, the first group of students, the total enrollment is 125. So
120.
we'll add 125 every year until we feel
Okay.
fully built out.
So now, would these kids would they be committed all day long here? Or would they be committed at a semester at a time or a year at a time? How is that going to work?
Well, it is a school. So once they enroll here, the goal is that they are committed to be here.
Committed for a year time or 4 years?
Until they're in target graduation.
A
That's the
4-year?
goal, yes. Mhm.
Okay, so my vision is this: we've got a lot of smart kids throughout both of our campuses, and especially the kids that I thought that we would want to target would be those that were involved in several of our CTE programs that are running throughout our school. And also it could go into reaching out to kids who want to major in accounting or these things, or our DECA programs. And so when we think about workforce development and being what I want to call it, you put the kids out there to businesses, what I want to say. Internship.
Mhm.
Okay, so those kids, I envision these kids coming in and out of Vista and Union and coming into a program and getting like a shop kid or a mechanics kid or a robotics kid that wants to get out into Lucid or something to do an internship with them, but they don't want to leave Union or Vista. They don't want to leave the larger environment, but they want that workforce development component to kind of go in and out and test areas. That's kind of what I had in.
Well, I do believe the goal is to expand the opportunity for those types of things into the traditional campuses. It's not just going to be within PACE, but with PACE, what we're going to do is just provide the students with a different type of atmosphere and a different type of learning, one that may be better suited for students who need a smaller campus and more intimate setting, and opportunity to really dive into career and explore workforce possibilities and explorations. But it's not just going to be limited to PACE. The other campuses will have the same opportunities. For our campus, the draw for students is the fact that, one, we are going to be a smaller campus. Two, they still can participate in athletics, just like they can for Innova on the other campuses. Three, they have the opportunity to develop a family-like atmosphere so that the advisors really know the students know themselves, and they develop strong, positive relationships. Because one of the main things that I heard students say in those focus groups was that they would like to have more positive relationships with the advisors, and they want them to believe in what the students are capable of doing. And so for PACE, as a high school, the expectation for any high school is that you can graduate your students from 9th grade all the way up to 12th grade. And so the goal is to definitely have them with us so we can cultivate the process. And you'll see in one of my slides, I'll show you what happens from 9th grade up to 12th grade regarding academics and regarding workforce.
I just don't know if
Clarify one other thing you mentioned, and I don't think Chuck picked up on it. You'd like to start with 125 in your
Yes.
first class, add another 125,
Yes.
add another 125,
Mhm.
and add another 125. So full enrollment would be about 500 kids.
Yes,
Okay.
So you'd be essentially, you'd be offering kids kind of an alternative to the main campus. And there are kids in Casa Grande
Mhm.
that definitely thrive in a smaller campus situation.
Yeah.
And if the district offers a choice like that, it may not, workforce may not be, where they end up, based just a smaller learning opportunity. Is something, instead of losing those kids to other high schools, that you would keep those kids here and give them an opportunity through the district, is how I kind of envision, as opposed to just teaching kids to go to Lucid or Intership.
yeah, the goal is to create successful post-secondary experiences, period. Whether it's workforce development that they choose to focus in on right away or going to a 4-year college, it's both. So depending on what they want, but we want them to understand that there are lots of opportunity within the community and that we have these places, these businesses, these people who want to work with you, who want you to be there, who want you to grow with them, that they may not be aware of.
If they choose to.
Yes.
If I can,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if I can speak to Jack's point as well, I completely agree and just want to say one more time that I would imagine there are many, many students within our district that would profit from a smaller school environment. What often happens within the public school system is we aren't able to offer that and we lose them to either public or charter schools. We've got some, or to private or charter schools. We've got some great charter schools here in the city. I happen to work for one of them, right? But as the primary district in this city, we want to make sure that we're providing all of those options to all of our kids, as we have the primary responsibility to provide them with every opportunity for education.
I apologize.
May I also want to
But the my question. So, I mean, if they're locked into the school for 4 years, but they see a couple of courses over in Union, I mean, say like the robotics component, if they want that, I mean, are we gonna provide that at PACE or something like that?
I will say the
How would we get
opportunity,
that?
the opportunity is there. The great thing about PACE is we're not committed to the traditional schedule, to the
Okay.
traditional setup. We have opportunity for innovation. That's part of the grant that we got, being innovative. If we see that there's enough of a demand where students want those opportunities, then anything is possible. We're not saying they don't have the opportunity to do that. They have more of an opportunity to do that in this particular environment than they would on a traditional campus.
So now have the programs been developed here?
They are in process of being
They're in the
developed, yes.
process of
So-
developing.
You'll see too, when I continue on to the curriculum team slides, exactly what it's gonna look like as you go through the life of a student.
Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
If I might,
You're on. Sorry about that.
no problem. I think it's important because we have, to your point, Mr. Wright, some viable career technical education offerings already. So this is choice, and careful of words, as sometimes alternative is related to something different, right? So we have choice. We've got robotics. We hope to have robotics throughout. STEM education shouldn't be something that is separate or taught in isolation. And our sites, our teachers, our staff, our leadership is doing really an exceptional job in incorporating STEM throughout. But we're not competing with programs that already exist. So a few of the programs you mentioned, we want to continue, and Ms. Miller is here, and she's in those meetings, that we talk to have viable options for kids. And then, of course, there's still those other programs that have it. So we're adding more choice
Yeah.
for our students in this district.
But the component that is important to me is the student internship component, where or I don't care if you're in our CTE programs or you're in PACE, I'm interested in having that component that we can push that kid through an industry internship, like a semester at a time, and be able to do that. And I'm not hearing that here.
Well, we have
it.
I'm gonna say-
Really quick.
Yeah,
Okay, so a part of the original plan in the grant includes internships and apprenticeships.
Okay,
So as you may recall, we had our partners come in the
Okay.
city, Mr. Wilkins,
Okay.
who has multiple work development
okay,
programs here in the city. And so to foster the problem-based or project-based learning, the internship is the capstone to being able to put together what we've learned content-wise, and then also skill and application-wise. So to your point, we're right there. So you'll be very pleased to see that a number of students, not only those in PACE, but also at Vista and Union, we've already increased our opportunity for internships.
so any kids in our CTE programs at the two campuses
Yes, sir.
can take advantage of that business internship and be part of that, but not be directly involved with the PACE program.
Absolutely. And Ms. Miller will be glad to talk more
Okay.
to that, as well as Dr. Eden. That's our goal. I'm
Right.
glad to hear we're aligned, but that's what we've been talking about, for
Okay.
the whole time.
I guess the key thing is PACE isn't taking away from any of the aspects that a kid at CTE, et cetera,
That's right.
those avenues as far as internships. And PACE is not specifically an internship school.
no.
It is a choice, a different choice of a school for kids.
So we can learn the best.
But that was the whole,
Yeah. So that might answer a lot of
starting point of
questions.
this whole conversation was workforce development initiative and getting kids out into the community to work for industries, to give them a peek of what that industry looks like, to get them exposed to the robotics, or at Avid Labs, to get them involved with, see what that looks like. I mean, that was kind of the start of this thing. I mean, I like the fact that we're gonna have another school, to give them more options, but I think, my requirements is that we make sure that we have that outside the school community, get in the internships and be involved with, as an intern in a business of their choice, of a career that they might want to pursue.
That's exactly the goal.
Okay,
Looks like Classic Grand finally has some choices
Yes, sir.
of some other opportunities, I mean,
A lot of
because it
choices.
hasn't been that way in the past. So,
It's nice. I do have to say, just along the lines of what you're looking for, I've been able to meet with the industry partners. We meet every 3 weeks to talk about where we are, to talk about what they need, and I do meet with them individually. And they have been fantastic about making sure that they include opportunities, not just for students to dive into, their place of business and their experiences, but for their workers to be able to come over to where our students are and mentor and share, the actual reality of doing what they do, why they do it, and why they love doing it. And you'll see as I go through in the curriculum format, the goal is to have our students finish with the foundational work, the actual core work, by the time they get to 11th grade, so they can spend pretty much the majority, if not all of 12th grade, doing the interning and applying the skills that they've learned.
great, thank you.
So for human resources, our advisor roles and responsibilities have been posted. Our advisors are our teachers. We didn't call them teachers because there's gonna be a lot of coaching and advising those students on developing themselves and promoting themselves, marketing themselves, getting out there to talk to businesses, making sure that, we fill the gaps for what it is that they need, whether, you're coaching them on the world of work, you're meeting with the families as a family liaison. There's a lot of things that you're doing outside of content teaching. So they're called advisors. We've had a few applicants for it, and I've done some pre-screening on some of those applicants. I'm hoping to be able to hire people ASAP, especially for the hard to fill roles. Most of them, honestly, in education right now are hard to fill, but the science and the math, those are harder to fill. And so we have a couple of candidates, and I'm hoping that as time goes on, we're able to get more as we get more out there and put ourselves out there when we market and we get word of mouth discussions going on. We just actually had a conversation and some training at our last conference with the New Schools Venture with a company called EdFuel. And they gave a lot of great information and resources about how you can support talent management and hiring in critical areas, and how you can pretty much put yourself out there to say, this is the reason why you should come here and not go there. And it was just the development of an EVP, which is, as you can see, an employee value proposition. And it's just all the reasons why you make a better location than the place up the street. Did you want to say anything about the EdFuel and the information that they gave us? I know Dr. Even was in the session with me too and got a lot of good information. Did you want to add anything to that?
No, just that it was a lot of really good strategies. We know that our success depends on being able to have the right talent in these roles, and especially because we are redefining the role for our innovative school, that we need to be really thoughtful about what those job descriptions look like. We need to be really thoughtful about how we're recruiting. And so Crystal and I are working closely around, and also with human resources, to make sure that we're being really, really thoughtful about our recruitment strategy and getting the folks that we need.
And so each of these buckets that I'm presenting to you are also regularly scheduled meetings with groups of people where we discuss all of these things and talk about how we can best support where we're going and what the desire is and what needs to be done.
Good, thank you.
Operations, our website is up and running. It's been updated regularly. We have our interest form submitted, and we had that on there prior to the start of registration, which actually began the end of last month. We currently have about 45 names on that list, and we still have a lot of visits and marketing to do. I'm actually going to the charter school GF this week to do a presentation to their 8th graders. I worked with one of the principals from the middle school at one of the middle schools in the elementary district, and his virtual school actually has about, he says, 60-something 8th graders that he would like me to speak to. So hopefully as we go, we'll see that list increase and we'll end up with our wait list.
A recommendation, being a parent of an 8th grader going to 9th grade next year, I would maybe recommend somehow trying to reach out to the parents of the 8th graders, because a lot of times the students don't relay these things to their parents. But if you can somehow get a list from the principals of the middle schools and send something out directly to the parents, I think that would make a big impact on spreading the news of this new school.
We're definitely trying to do that. I know there are some limitations with information sharing.
Or maybe give it to the principals who then
Yeah.
share it with the
Yeah.
8th grade parents.
And I've met with all the principals prior to this, so this is how it gets set up, through direct contact with them first.
So pinning the note on the backpack doesn't work anymore?
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I got a paper 2 days ago or last week enrolling my daughter in one of the schools, but there was no information. It was like, these are your class choices, but there's nothing, but it was sent directly from the middle school, but there was no, I mean, it just, there was no letter sent to the parents saying, hey, your student is gonna bring this home soon. And maybe that's on the middle schools, but somehow there needs to be communication between the high school and the middle school to give them the proper information to
And-
submit to the parents.
You know, maybe that's just a reiteration to Dr. Leckie, who was also on the planning committee, who hears all these things and is a part of all the decisions, reaching out to some of the elementary and middle schools. But yeah, we do have a bit of restriction related to
Right.
student information. So.
Mr. Hayes, the new incoming board member, mentioned the other day in a conversation that there was an open house at the high schools the other day, and that his son really got a chance to go around and visit different the different campuses, et cetera. So is there something that needs to be, promoting this?
Well, what we did for the open house is we shared our information on the campuses. And when the students came to visit, we shared our video and our, whatever information we had. Our success coach went out and talked to some of the students, and we were able to get into a lot of those opportunities when the students would visit the other campuses, because they obviously can't come here to see what it is they're looking for since we're not there yet. And as far as open house goes, our open house is going out to the campuses. So instead of them coming to us, we've been going out to them to give them the information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this is what academics and career and workforce development will look like from grade 9 to grade 12. So each area is gonna be, or each grade level is gonna be focused on either core or career. That's it. For 9th and 10th grade, there's a lot of core that has to be covered before they have the freedom in their schedule to do a lot of career stuff. But we do have opportunities worked in there under our advisory courses where the 9th graders have a chance to do a lot of career exploration and exposure, and also identify their personal work profile. They can understand the type of learner and the type of personality trait that they have and connect that to careers, because the goal is to expose them to things that they want to grow into, and it's not just, I'm just gonna do this for a second and then I'm leaving. And so if we can get them to understand who they are and what their personalities are and what careers are better suited for them because they're more interested and they have the skills and the strengths to pursue that, then that's what we wanna do. 10th grade is mostly standards and competencies, but they'll have the opportunity to explore and to tinker in some of those areas, more simulation and opportunity to get hands-on with it. 11th grade, they should have a lot more opportunity to pursue the pathway that they're most interested in, because by that time, they'll have most of their core component or their fundamentals for high school completed. And so they'll be able to have a lot more career connections with the pros, getting in there, having those mentors, having them share with you, doing those virtual tours aside from the actual physical tours, and then starting to really develop their elevator pitch about themselves for the interning opportunity, because we want them to be able to sell who they are to the businesses to earn that internship opportunity. 12th grade, by the time they're in 12th grade, I think they'll only have ELA and math left, just based on the requirements, the course requirements in the state of Arizona and within our district. By that time, the majority of their day, most of their day, is gonna be spent in applications. That's where they're doing the interning pretty much the entirety of the day. That's where they also present at the end their capstone experience from 9th all the way up to 12th grade. And then throughout the entire high school experience, they're gonna have world language offered, because we want them to be able to get the seal of biliteracy on their diploma. Any questions about that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So based on this curriculum, if someone decided that they wanted to not pursue more of a career or a technical type of a career, and they wanted to go to a 4-year college, this would still make them eligible?
Yes. Mhm. So as far as the curriculum goes, we have a subcommittee, and we've been meeting pretty regularly. We started with weekly meetings and just having the discussions about where we need to go. There's a lot to be done when it comes to curriculum in this type of opportunity, and all of these pathways and being able to choose in competency levels. We ended up expanding our portrait of a graduate, which the district already had. So we had our traits already, and then we had our descriptions. But what we needed to do as we started to talk about skills and competencies, we needed to expand that a little bit to include behaviors. What are the things that we would see this student doing if they actually mastered or were showing this particular trait from the portrait of the graduate. And so from there, we'll build we created kind of the universal competencies of what every 12th grader is going to look like by the end based on the portrait of a graduate. But we also want to have content-specific competencies and skills that we measure based on, whatever their focus is, what their interest is, what their pathway is, and what is required just as a foundation. I also met with the Center for the Future of Arizona's Director of Educational Leadership and Innovation. We've discussed supports with school lunch. They actually have a brand new program where you can become a part of a 2-year cohort if you apply, and they support you with everything related to curriculum and competency and pathways, and they will take you around to different places locally in actual Arizona, which is sometimes very hard to find, that are instructing and using these methods and supporting the same things that we are trying to support. I do have another meeting with someone from the Center for the Future of Arizona about the college and career pathways curriculum, because if we can get support with having a curriculum that we can tweak and modify, and we don't have to make everything from scratch, I'm all for that. It is a lot to be done. Any questions about?
Yeah, it's always good not to have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to.
Yeah, and that's the goal.
So somebody's already paid for it, so.
Yeah, and what I'm finding is there is a lot of want and a lot of transition into this way of thinking and this way of educating our students. And so there's a lot of things now available to us that we want to take advantage of.
Great.
All right, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Any other questions for Crystal? No, thank you very much,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Good job.
Well, we are in public hearing pursuant to
Yes, sir. So Dr. Strong is going to share information relative to item number 2.
And if there's anybody that would like to speak to this, now's an opportune time to, if you have a card or if you'd like to talk during the budget period of this time, now's an opportune time to bring your card up. Getting closer.
All right. I have 4 documents. So what we're trying to get up, Mr. President, members of the board, what we're trying to get up is the PDF presentation that's attached to board docs. I have it up here on my computer. I probably could screen cap. But let's go through the slide deck that's provided in that PDF.
We all have it on ours also.
Yeah, for you, okay? If we get up, we get up. So, the purpose of this public hearing is to revise the fiscal year 22-23 July expenditure budget for adjustments to various fund calculations, including EDM. Explain and build an understanding of the budget revision process. So the budget cycle in the state of Arizona is that in July of 22, an adopted expenditure budget has to be administered to the governing board. That was done in this district. In December of 22, go to the third slide there. In December of 22, you can have budget revisions, revision 1. In prior years, in pandemic years, you could have a lot more revisions. In fact, you saw boards in September revision, December revisions, coming back in March revision. and through May revision as well. And then you have a final budget revision that occurs in May of each year. In this case, we have to get that final budget revision to you by May 15th. And so what do we know here in Casa Grande? The big reason for this budget revision is ADM, average daily membership, which is really based off of student count, is up in this district. We plan for a little growth in the July expenditure budget, and our growth is beyond that little growth that we planned for in July. So when you have more growth than you expected, you then collect more ADM. When you collect more ADM, you get more of the revenue control. Does that make sense? You have more budgetary funds to expend. Okay? Factors affecting the budget, these are all the factors affecting the budget. This budget's pretty much getting revised for 3 reasons. Student enrollment counts are up. Mary, you can go to the next slide. Student enrollment counts are up. People continue to select Casa Grande Union High School District. Vista and Union combined are about 4,100 kids. That's as high of a student count as I can find on record right now for the district. Carry forward is up. Once we closed out our books with the annual financial report in October, the carry forward approached $8.3 million. And you'll see that in the slide. And then there's a capital adjustment to the capital budget from prior years that we'll talk about. So here's an overall summary of what you'll see in action item 2. Next slide, Mary, please. Overall summary, the revenue control limit, 32 million is getting moved to 32,542,000. That increase of 450,000 is primarily due to, I just said it, student enrollment and ADM counts. The capital transfer is still at 772,000. In other words, we're not changing the capital transfer. What is the capital transfer? The capital transfer is the amount of money we move from M&O to help cover capital expenditures every year. This has been traditionally between 600,000 to 1.2 million dollars in this district. So 772 is right in the range that it has been in prior years. Proposition 123 is a proposition that was put into place in 2016. It goes to 2026, and this district chooses to allocate their Proposition 123 money to capital expenditures, not to M&O expenditures. So that's not getting adjusted. You can see the M&O override is up by about $24,000. That's because of student growth as well. And then carry forward is hitting 8.301 million in the M&O carry forward bucket. I do want to have everyone recall that there's been extensive study sessions that have covered the Fund 10 solvency issues in this district. Fund 10 is an insolvent fund. And so carrying forward an amount of money to help cover insolvency issues in Fund 10 is extremely important in this district. This district has been expending all their Fund 10 funds for several years prior to this. And we've covered that in extensive study sessions. So when people see an $8.3 million carry forward, you need to realize that that's through the lens of that's really the carry forward for 2 funds, one of which should have a couple $1 million worth of solvency in it and has close to $50,000 of solvency in it. Okay. FY22 general budget limit as a result is up by about $1.5 million from 41.67, which was the July budget, to 43.16. I promise I'm almost done as we hear the yawns from the financial presentations. Here we go. Unrestricted capital budget fund is the same amount in terms of the actual calculation based on ADM. Why is that? That's because capital is determined on prior year student count, not current year student count. So we already knew prior year student count. So it's pretty easy to tell you where your budget is. In M&O is current year funding based on your current students. So we don't know that till the school year starts. And so when you put your July budget together, you're taking a guess, hopefully a pretty educated guess. And this year we guessed low, and we're bringing back a revision on the M&O side. Capital transfer 772, mentioned in the prior slide, Prop 123, $277,000. Why is that up $21,000? That's up $21,000 because you get a larger share of the Prop 123 money as your student enrollment increases. So as you get more students, there's 1 million students in the state of Arizona. As your enrollment increases, you get a larger share of that 1 million students. There's only so much of a pie of Prop 123. So if you get a larger share of the students, you're getting a larger share of your Prop 123 money. So that's up $21,000. We earned a little more interest than we expected, so we're revising our interest upwards. You can add interest to the capital budget, you cannot add interest to your M&O budget. Okay, and then your carry forward amounts down, that's because of an ADE adjustment. The Arizona Department of Education said, hey, you carry forward too much money in I think it was 2 years ago, carry forward revisions. And so we need to take your carry forward down to 2.651 million. And so all total, the capital budget's going from 6.254 million to 6.132 million. Last year, there was approximately $2.1 million of capital money spent. So based on annual expenditures, we have money of about $4 million to carry forward, which fund things like the PACE renovations that you just saw in the previous presentation. Maintenance and operation budget breakdown, go one more slide for me and we'll be done. 61.1% of our money in this district is spent on instruction. General administration is approximately 2.9%, 3.1% of our budget is spent on school site administration. Central services is about 4%, that's your grounds. Maintenance and operations, 15%, that includes your electric bills, and then transportation is a third-party contract in this district. And we spend about 9.9% of our budget on transportation right now at this point in time. Expected, these are all expectations, not AFR calculations, what's in the expenditure budget. And so that's our report out on what's in action item 2. This is a public hearing, and so this is required to have this moment of reflection before we go into the action item 2 at the regular board meeting.
Okay, Matt, and just, just not in the deep dive, but specifically the 8.3 carry forward is money that hasn't been expended in the past. There's specific areas where it can be used, et cetera. It's just not money to say that you can use anywhere.
Correct. So M&O money gets used on salaries and benefits, right? And 85% of your M&O money goes towards salary and benefits. The other amount is really for maintenance and operations of your custodial staff, ground staff, things along those lines. So you can't just move M&O funds to go spend on food service, buying a new oven in food service. You can't go use M&O funds to buy a bus. I know we have third-party transportation, that's just an example.
And the other question still is, the M&O, the override failed dramatically. So, you've got how many more years?
You'll see the override go up one more year, because there's one more year of voter approved authority. Right? And so next year, the override will probably go up to around 3.3 million, because we have more students this year. Right? Unfortunately, if the board decides to, the board's the one that's got to decide to call for an election in November 23. And then the voters say, hey, we don't want to renew the override. Then in years 6 and 7, you essentially have to reduce the budget by 1.1 million. It's a third each year, so you zero it out, 1.1 million each year. That's another really healthy reason to keep a carry forward, because that carry forward allows you to manage exactly what $1.1 million does for the district.
The $3 million total
Yeah,
over the, by the end of the third year.
$3 million total over the end of 3 years. And, for this district, what the override's been funding is been funding security. Security guards are funded out of the override pot. It's been funding athletics. Athletics is funded out of the override pot. CTE, some of our CTE programs are funded out of the override pot. And so what the district, if the override was called for, the override didn't pass in November 23, what the district's gonna have to do is consider all elements, even things that are funded or not funded out of the override, and say, okay, how do we make sure that we remain a healthy financial organization when we have to reduce our budget by our ongoing budget by $1.1 million every year for the next 3 years.
And to go for the election in November will cost the district, has to pay for the printing and the publication and all the associated with that.
That's right. And I believe that's in the realm of $50,000. Yes, sir. We'll have to pay that again, if the board so chooses.
Any questions, Dr. Strong? On that as presented. So you've had a discussion and a presentation of that, and we'll address that in the regular meeting. So any other, it's about 6:20, we got about 10 minutes. So no questions? At this point, we'll go ahead and adjourn and then reconvene here at 6:30 for our regular board meeting. If we could, please, we're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. Mary, if you'd call roll.
Mr. Kirby?
Here.
Mr. Lopez?
Present and accounted for the last time.
Mr. Hannah?
Yeah.
Mr. Wright?
Here.
And Mrs. Harrington?
Here.
Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You good, please? We're gonna just have just a quick moment of silence. We're good. And I thank you. First up on the agenda is item A, which is to adopt the agenda as presented. Is there a motion?
I move.
Second.
Motion by Taylor, second by Chuck. Any other questions with that? If not, Mayor, we'll call for the vote, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Before you also have the minutes of November 1st and November 18th as presented. Is there a motion to approve these as presented?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Chuck and a second by Taylor. Any other questions? If not, Mayor, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hannah?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Dr. Battle, we're down to recognition. Would you like to recognize the third principal, please?
Yes, sir. Would be glad to do so. If I can have all three of them approach the podium, and then also Ms. Miller, if you would as well. And then you all can determine who gets to go first. Okay. Thank you. It's always an honor to recognize students in our district. They work extremely hard. And I appreciate the leadership who has prepared and will present on our school's behalf.
Mr. President, Dennis, Madam President, Madam Superintendent, Dr. Battle. It's my pleasure. Actually, a number of students that I need to present this evening, which is always good. I love recognizing students and I love having them have the spotlight when it comes to certain things. The first student that I will present is our Rotary Student of the Month from last month. Fortunately, I was at a state tournament volleyball game, first in Vista's history, and I was able to attend that. So thank you for allowing me to do that, and thank you for allowing me to present this student. He is not here tonight due to outside circumstances. His name is Joseph Behrens. His mother is Alicia Behrens. She's one of our English teachers. His list of school activities and accomplishments are he's an AP student, previous DECA member. And some of his personal accomplishments, he enjoys helping others, physical activity, basketball, skateboarding, and weightlifting. He plays an important role to his little sister and nephew. His list of life and career goals, he plans to attend CAC and transfer to ASU. This says, go Devils, mom's an alumni. I say, go Eastern Michigan University for all those who watch the football game. He plans to attend law enforcement academy, receive a criminal justice degree, and become a police detective or private investigator. And he also plans to raise a family. Joseph is one bright individual. He goes he's really, really good in the classroom. I wish he was here to say some of his accomplishments or if he would have written them down, but he's also a very humble individual. So that was our Rotary Student of the Month last month. Our Student of the Month this month is Ms. Jana Tool Wadia. Her father's name is M.D. Abdul Bari and her mother's name is Mushamut Battle. Hope I said that right. Her school activities and accomplishments, she's an upward bound student, a key club member, FCC LA Culinary Arts Club secretary member. She volunteered and assisted at culinary bake sales. Her list of personal activities is volunteer to donate blood at every key club blood drive. She's completed over 50 hours of community service by volunteering at an animal shelter, Mr. Granite Public Library, and street cleanups and club fundraisers. Her career goals: attend CAC and earn her associate's degree in photography and video production, in which she plans to use for focusing on weddings. She also plans to attend and transfer to ASU to get her bachelor's degree in chemistry while managing the photography business. Very lofty goals, and I'm sure you'll get.
Come on, Dad, come on up there.
Yeah. We'll take pictures. All right. There you go. What you got?
Sit down and get pictures. I would have hit all right.
Go that way. Thank you, sir. Congratulations.
Just tearing the pattern there with that shit.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very fortunate.
Next up, what I would like to do, I would like to introduce a student, and then I will let members of our VFW all come up and present. They had a event last month that Ms. Melina Watley was not able to attend due to soccer practice, because she's a very outgoing young lady and very busy. And I say that because Melina, if you look up, she is doing something at school. That's just who she is. And so I would like to bring up Hugh Byrne, Post 1677 Commander, Frank Alger, the Voice of Democracy Chairperson, and Lori Byrne, District 10 Commander at this time.
Good evening, school board. Good evening, parents, students. My name is Hugh Burns, I'm Commander of VFW Post 1677. And today, we are honoring and working with our students and our teachers daily in our school district. The VFW really enjoys honoring and working with our school members, the school board members, teachers, and students. Currently, we have 3 different programs that we work in the VFW. One is our Voice of Democracy, which is an essay that has to be 3 to 5 minutes long, and it has to go under a theme. This year's theme was why a veteran is important. And we also have another program, it's called our Patriot Pen for our middle school students. Our middle school students have to write a 300 to 400 word essay. And this year's theme was my pledge to our veterans. We just had an awards presentation at a post where Naomi Mardiello was our Patriot Pen winner. And also, our Teacher of the Year was selected also, which was Cedric Collins. Both of them did outstanding jobs. They both have been forwarded to the district level. That's the next phase of competition of the packets. We expect Cedric to do very well and have him go forward. Melina is going to present a speech on why a veteran is important, and you'll have the opportunity for her to show her hard work. So, further ado, Melina, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Let me just get right into it. Okay, why is the veteran important? When people hear the phrase veterans, most people think about those who put their life at risk to serve their country, or even those who died and continue in the memory for serving their country. While it is true that veterans embody that statement, I also believe it takes more than that to become a true veteran. Veterans personify what our society should stand for. Selfless, dedicated, and willing to go the extra mile so the person next to them and the millions of people that depend on them back in their great nation can feel secure and confident that their freedoms and rights are protected. Veterans made the selfless sacrifice of service. They swore to an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. Veterans are great resources to counsel and advise civilian leadership with real-world experience and guidance for the true cost of war and assist the nation when making decisions about entering and exiting conflicts. Veterans are involved in all sorts of tasks, whether it is physical or verbal. They work hard to defend and keep harms out of the way. Veterans represent continuity and experience between younger, active service members and the nation's previous conflicts to provide resident knowledge and expertise. Continuing to grow and build relations with the world and each community, gaining new knowledge. Veterans have inspired me as a member of the JRTC program my freshman year at Vista Grande High School. Our commanding officer, Chief Warrant Officer Hall, thrusted me into various leadership roles within the organization. He encouraged me to pursue endeavors outside of my comfort zone while providing me networking opportunities. I've spoken with many other retired veterans, and they gracefully shared with me their experiences and feelings. My grandfather is one of the many. However, with his knowledge, I gained angles from all of the branches of workforce. He diligently served for 25 years and continued with security forces afterwards. He always spoke with a passion through all his journeys. What he shared was more than just conflict. The characteristics I would explain him to have, he would be all I mentioned before, but also include integrity, conscientiousness, reliability, and resilience. Even after serving, he still uses everything he has learned in his daily life and continues to give back to the community. Another one of the many would be an Air Force recruiter. Although it is her job to talk it up and encourage, she never seemed filtered. She spoke honestly and really incorporated the boring, the hard, the frustrating, and the happy experiences. Through all the hard, she persevered. Through all the good, she enjoyed. I will never forget her words. The military has built me into a person I never thought I would become. As a result of this, I am inspired to join the military and serve my country, so I too can carry the distinguished title of a veteran. They have encouraged me to continue looking into this future I want to pursue with great hope. We do not forget their contribution to this country.
Thank you, well done.
So the surprise is that you also receive a $250 check.
Thank you.
Make sure you get that sweater.
Oh, okay. Hold on, her family's here, so we're gonna do it.
Okay.
Yes.
Come on up. Well done. One more time. Get the whole family up there. Come on.
Dad and grandparents.
All right, that's awesome.
I don't have to.
Put you right in the middle.
All right.
Put you right in the middle.
Star of the show.
Just like that.
Hey, Mr. Danby, can I put you over here?
Yes, of course.
This is not aesthetically pleasing. Okay,
Here we go.
here we go. 1, 2, 3. Great.
Is it aesthetically pleasing having a minute? We can take.
Lay down across.
Thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is awesome. Oh, no, thank you.
And last but not least, I would like to present a very distinguished letter that we received from our JROTC program from the previous school year. So at this time, I would like to invite Commanding Officer Swift up and the rest of our JROTC members who are in attendance. Do we have other ones here? So as we all know that we've encountered some difficulties with our JROTC program, what I would like to say is through it all, when one says Commanding Officer Swift, I say that with all sincerity. She has not stopped helping. She has not stopped stepping up. The members of JROTC program on our campus, they have still been helping with a bunch of things. Commanding Officer Swift has taken over direction of our color guard. They practice every Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, or every other Wednesday when she's available, not doing something else, because she's also a busy young lady. So would you like to introduce everyone before I introduce this letter?
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Please do.
Go ahead, you go first.
Good evening, I'm Melina Motley.
I'm Gus Heber.
I'm Erin Swift.
I'm Emma Holder.
All right, so the letter states designation of Viscarati High School Marine Corps Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps Honor School. In recognition of exemplary performance during the previous 12 months, the Viscarati High School Marine Corps Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps unit has been selected as a Naval Honor School in accordance with the reference. This distinction is bestowed upon your MC JROTC unit for the 2021-2022 school year. So as this was explained to me, this is one of the things that our JLTC program did. They went from bottom of the ring with the previous instructors. We brought in some more instructors, and they went from the bottom to the top and became like top 10% of the school and things that they were doing around the state and the country. You and your units are to be congratulated for attaining this distinction. It is through the superior efforts of units such as yours that the MC JLTC program goals have been achieved. The Marine Corps is proud of your achievement, and we wish you continued success in all future MC JROTC program efforts. R.G. Altman, Director, MC JROTC program. So again, like I said, they have never stopped. We plan on them continuing doing stuff, and it is under the leadership that Commanding Officer Swift has shown. Very exemplary young lady, so.
If I might add,
Sure.
I have to say, Erin knows, she's been nothing but fantastic. We've had the opportunity to meet, we had lunch, and she knows the plans that we're working towards, and this would be very opportunistic to say, and I want to appreciate Dr. Strom and Mr. Casey, that we have candidates that we're going to be interviewing next week, possibly 6. They're working towards that end to ensure that all programs, including this one, continue with their JROTC program. But I have to say, while it was very difficult, this core group, the leadership, has been nothing short of respectful, understanding, and supportive. And I thank you all for that. That's called leadership. Thank you.
Great leadership.
And that concludes this.
One more time.
Way to go again.
Great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Well done, yes.
Whatever.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent Dr. Battle. It's a pleasure to be in front of you today. I'd like to call up to the stand an outstanding young man, Kyler Avend. Kyler, come on up. Besides just being a few feet taller than me, Kyler stands out in any crowd for a number of reasons. I'm going to share some of those with you, but he was a student that joined us not as a freshman, but later on in his high school career. And I'll tell you that he quickly joined the Union family and has made an amazing impact and difference. And you'll hear some of it as I'm going to quote him and what he shared with some of his teachers who he's invited tonight because they've touched his life. And I think it speaks to the type of servant leader he is and hopefully the teacher that he's hoping to become. So he transferred over from an old school. He did tell me the name. I can maybe tell it to you later, but he told me there that he was part of the Criminal Justice Club and he was encouraged to be a police explorer. And you'll see that trend throughout each year. In addition, he joined a green team, which again speaks to his leadership as they looked for various ways to recycle and to improve the community around them. Later in 10th grade, as he transferred into Union, he discovered Link Crew, which is another service organization where young people are able to work with freshmen and help inspire them and help them in their educational pursuits. He did not give up being a police explorer and was encouraged by his family to continue that endeavor as a police explorer throughout. As he continued, he's taken a variety of challenging coursework, maintaining high grades. He's an AP student, taking a number of AP classes as well as honors courses and has excelled in each of them. In fact, he's received an Academic Excellence Award in his English class for his junior year and simultaneously received an Academic Excellence Award in Spanish too that year. He has been a leader in Link Crew. He's been an officer, a treasurer. He's part of our ECE, Early Childhood Education Program, and he says that he's fallen in love with it. He wants to be a future teacher. He's been inspired by the ECE and FCCLA program, and this is what he says: so much that I would come before school and after school, spend time learning about how to teach the preschool in many ways. This is why it would always push me to do my best whenever I could, and this is Alicia, and Miss Rita, and Miss Marcella. He won't forget anybody. We're always very appreciative of my help, and we're willing to answer any and all questions I had. He continues to share, and I just want to highlight a couple other little pieces as these teachers are here in particular. Ms. Fitzgibbons, he says, was a great teacher, and she used strong strategies and variation to keep the class participating with the lessons, and was always happy to help us with any problems we had with the lessons. I think he's going to be not only a good teacher, but maybe a leader or a coach in the classroom as he's giving great feedback to these teachers. He also has Mr. Lucchese here, who he says has been very helpful and thoughtful with the way he plans his lessons, and the overall atmosphere of the class reflects people who are genuinely happy to be in it. He continues with each of his teachers recognizing, and I just think that speaks to his character and who he is. I'd also like to recognize his parents who are here today. He highlights some that are here and some that are far. He says, before we moved to Arizona, I lived with my mom, Valerie Abbott, Grandma Gloria Abbott, and Grandpa Doug Abbott. Now that we moved to Arizona, I spend time a lot more with my dad, Chris Abbott, and stepmom, Tara Abbott. And so I'd like to recognize, I think he's got his mom and his grandparents here today, if they would stand and be recognized. Finally, while we were on the train for ESU, he says he would like to go to CAC and then transfer to GCU, where he wants to major in elementary education and work in upper elementary teachers after he graduates. We hope that he will then go on into high school because that's what we'd like to see him. But Kyler's been a fabulous young man, and we'd like to congratulate him tonight. So Kyler, we invite you and your parents to come up here.
Come on now. Unless you want to come.
Gotta get the whole crew in there.
And I'm gonna go a little bit this way because I keep getting. Here we go. That might. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Got to shoot high.
Yeah. Yeah, I got mine.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Great job. Congrats. Good young man there.
What's it?
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Good evening, President Vaness, board members, Dr. Battle. I'm here once again to present CTE Students of the Month. We have 3 this month. We're running out of nights of meetings for programs because we keep adding a couple here and there, so bear with me. There's going to be a few of these where we have more than 2. Anyway, we're going to continue honoring students from Union High School at the moment, and this young lady may look familiar to you. She has presented to the board on at least one occasion this year. Miss Ella Barth, if you'd come up here, please. So Ella is here with, her parents are Benjamin and Christina Barth, and she is nominated tonight for engineering and software and app design from Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris says that Ella is someone whom I have come to rely on to step up and assume a position of leadership and responsibility. She has taken on the elected role of president of Skills USA Engineering and hit the ground running this semester. Ella is also the elected president of our Girls Who Code chapter and leads chapter meetings twice a week before school with a group of highly motivated and creative female programmers. She has also taken on the task of electrical hardware assembly for our NASA Space Grant High Altitude Balloon Payload Project. I have enjoyed working with Ella on computer programming projects in Engineering 2 and Engineering 3. Ella has become proficient in binary mathematics, Boolean algebra, PN conjunction, transistor operating theory. You've already surpassed me, sweetheart. Deriving design equations for digital electronic circuitry, converting those equations into hardware schematics and implementing those circuits in transistor level hardware as digital logic gates, adders, decoders, encoders, registers, and more. She's always willing to share her technical knowledge of Python programming in both software and app design and AP computer science principles courses. She has been a valuable teaching assistant this year. It is for these reasons and many more not discussed here that I have chosen Ella Barth as the CTE Student of the Month for December 2022.
The whole group. Okay, let's take your head up. Dip it up.
1, 2, 3.
All right, watch that slide.
One more time, we take a class.
We have to, nothing much?
Always a pleasure.
Oh, will you let us know the next time they launch the
Yes, we should
balloon,
be
when's it gonna be?
launched in March, April.
Make sure the board gets an invite on that, please.
We will make sure they come back and show you the results.
Yeah, no, we wanna see, hopefully we're looking forward to better than last time.
All things are good. They're all learning opportunities. All right, so the next student I would like to recognize is Cadence Khan. And Cadence is a student in our bioscience biotech program at Union. Her parents are Cody Spies and Anthony Kahn. And I'm going to share the words of Mr. Thompson and her parents. All right, I am nominating Candace Kahn for CTE Student of the Month. She is currently both the student body president at CGUHS and president of CGUHS HOSA. Cadence has been inspirational in helping our program and me as a first-year CTE teacher to become involved in Arizona HOSA and all the upcoming activities. In last week's Fall Leadership Conference, she guided her classmates in attendance through the daily activities and helped ensure a successful event. Cadence is a senior at CGUHS and has a 4.6 GPA.
Nice.
She plans to attend Duke University in Durham, North Carolina upon graduation, and I am proud to nominate her for the Student of the Month Award.
Come on up, Mom.
Come on up. Photo up.
Oh, we got her sister too. Awesome. That's great.
There we go.
Thank you.
And I heard this program mentioned more than once during our PACE presentation. So we are presenting a student from Automation and Robotics at Vista tonight, and that is Olivia Grace DeMarco Kramer. And I got to see you today during the event tonight. We had the showcase at Vista today for CTE and Cabot, and so I got to meet this young lady just today. So these are the words from Mr. Vega. Oh, let me not forget her parents. We have Aurora DeMarco and Joel Kramer. And now Mr. Vegas words. Olivia provides a lot of knowledge and skills gained in previous projects before Vista Grande. She has expanded her knowledge by learning different programming, microcontrollers, and software skills in robotics. In addition, she is growing her knowledge in 3D printing and SolidWorks software, a computer-aided design system, along with VEX technology. She has a positive attitude towards learning new things and applying new skills. Moreover, she's always willing to help students' learning journey with new technology and innovations. She follows directions, and as instruction takes place in the classroom and in online platforms, she works hard as an individual and on team group projects. She incorporates the new technology that she learns in the robotics class. Her background and previous experiences in programming have granted her the ability to become a strong leader in the classroom as new programming technology has been incorporated. She completes assignments and robotics activities on time and with quality. She's developed excellent teamwork and collaboration skills that are necessary in the workforce and industry. She represents safety in the workplace when working with electrical and mechanical projects. She's a team player who is always willing to help others, assisting them with technical support. She represents a positive and enthusiastic classroom learning environment with every student, helping them enjoy the Vista Grande robotics program. Due to her dedication, hard work, and determination to learn new knowledge and practice new technology in automation and robotics, I am honoring her as the Student of the Month.
I don't know, we're going the other. Go this way.
Wait, I need y'all.
Thank
Thank you. All right, here we go.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You're up.
Outstanding. Well, you know, it's important that we recognize our amazing students, and thank you everyone who was given that recognition, as well as the leadership who took the time to provide the information. Just wonderful. We have two. Rosie Perez, would you please come on up, please, while I share some wonderful things about you? There she is. Come on up. Okay, Rosie is being recognized as our November Staff Person of the Month. And I have to share with you, she has just done a phenomenal job. Some things is top of mind, just from personal experience. Upon arrival, she was very gracious and introduced herself, and immediately we could tell that she had great leadership skills and had opportunity to advance her leadership skills and stepped into the summer school role. And she was able to lead there, ask good questions, was mentored by wonderful leadership from the district office. And not only that, her expertise in science is just amazing. And her feedback and input, not only for the campus in which she served, but throughout the district, has been very, very received very well, and we appreciate her. So as she is the science department chair, which we call the department instructional leader, and has supported other areas of leadership. She's aspiring to become a certified administrator, and she'll be able to do that, I'm sure, very, very soon. Ms. Perez has readily volunteered for many different tasks and is always willing to do everything for the betterment of Casa Grande community and Vista Grande High School. She helped to organize, oversee the Dean of Students, as I shared earlier. Mr. Danzy has great respect and admiration for her contribution to the school. Again, quality person, inside and out. And I just want to say congratulations, and we appreciate everything that you do. Thank you. We'll take pictures for him. We'll take pictures for everyone with you. Yes, mom and dad. Please.
Oh,
Mom and dad. Thank you so much for your daughter. Here, sir, please. Thank you.
Good to see you.
And we have another staff person for December. And we try to share the wealth across the district. Every one of our campuses has many, many individuals that we could recognize. And if I could ask for Alexandra Anamaranzo. Alex knows. I call her Alex. You know, she has been nothing but fantastic. She's been the epitome of customer service, hard work, curiosity, partnering, collaboration since she's been here. She's fairly new to our district, but I tell you, there's not a time she doesn't have that smile on her face when she's at work, and she enjoys working hard. And her leadership at Innova and also to be Pace, appreciate what she's done. And I tell you, not too many people could step in a new program, a new situation, and do the wonderful things that you've done and the contributions you've made to this district. So we commend you and thank you for all that you do for us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, please, and family, please come on up.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you.
Keep coming.
Son.
Daughter and son, yes.
Yay. My first name.
Emily.
Well done.
Kevin.
Let's come on over. Thank you. She wants a picture with you? There you go. I think you get to do the walk.
Congratulations, your mom is great.
Thank you so much for all you do.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
What's down here? Nobody's getting hooked up.
Oh, it's
that
big
metal thing in front.
Oh, okay.
I know. Sticks out.
So it's like,
Just get the operation guys on that.
All right, so. Nice and tough one. I was just fine until just right now. So as you know, there is a cycle and a sequence of leadership and change that, quite candidly, I think we're gonna demonstrate and model for our country. And that is a change of God in a very respectful and meaningful way. And I just want to say is, having had the opportunity, I'm just certain that I speak on behalf of many people, many of whom have been longer than I have been blessed to serve. And I'd like to recognize and appreciate one particularly, and there's two tonight, Mr. Joe Lopez, as a longtime educator and community person, an owner, business owner, a lover of other people's children, and a passion for justice and dedication to education. We thank you for everything that you've done as a governing board member, and we appreciate and respect the attention that you gave this position. We don't pay you a lot. But you paid us in full. So thank you, Mr. Lopez, for your years of dedicated and commitment to this district. Would you please join me in thanking Mr. Joe?
These mom, like it.
Yes.
Mike's here.
excuse me, I'm gonna take a moment here to compose myself because it's a very touching moment. My 4-year term here as a governing board member is coming to an end very soon. And I'm leaving with bittersweet emotions. Having been an instructor at Casa Grande Union High School, and now as a representative on the governing board, has been quite an educational experience for me. The challenges at times have been overwhelming. With the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the emotional emails we received that students would not be able to walk in graduation ceremonies, to the departure of our previous superintendent, in midstream of my years. However, I am leaving knowing that myself and 3 other board member colleagues made a correct decision in choosing Dr. Battle to lead us in a positive direction. Dr. Battle, in the face of continued wrongful and relentless persecution, has never wavered in exercising her professionalism, her integrity, and leadership, in keeping her focus on the well-being of our students. I want to thank Dr. Battle and also Mary Mosenbaum for all the support she's given me over the years. I've known her for many years. For all that you've done for the success of this school and this district. I'm thankful for this opportunity to serve my community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lewis. And we have, I've had the pleasure to have served for over 30 years. And I've served some wonderful, wonderful people in the midst of challenges of the world, as a matter of fact, as Mr. Lopez so eloquently shared. And Mr. Jack Henderson, longtime citizen, continued to have nothing but the best interests of Casa Grande District, as well as the city at heart in everything you've done from the beginning. And as a superintendent who had the opportunity to serve here, she appreciates the guidance, the critical review, the honesty, and support and respect that you have given on behalf of this district. We couldn't have asked for any more. We value you as a continued member of Casa Grande Union High School District and City. And we know that you will continue to be committed. We thank you for your many years of service to our schools. You've been a coach. You've been, how should I say, a teacher of a teacher. And you've been a valued father and friend. And we thank you for all that you've done for Casa Grande Union High School District forever and always. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You know, I think I'm gonna leave it with Joe. He did a wonderful job of bringing key things to point. And I think the district is in good hands. Look forward to the new gentleman coming in. There's lots of challenges. I hope that they'll take the time to get educated, to understand what's going on, to go through the whole process. I think I spoke with Mr. Hunt here at the previous board meeting. It's kind of like drinking water out of a fire hose. There's so much information and so much stuff that is not privy to the public due to its private and confidential and personnel issues. So I look forward to you gentlemen having a chance to get in here, roll your sleeves up and come in here with the best interest of the district. And know that our number one role here, and our really truly number one role here, is for the kids of the community of Casa Grande. And I hope you never lose focus on the real reason why you're here, and that is to represent the at least 4,000 kids and their parents of Casa Grande Union High School. And I'm gonna leave it with what Joe says. You did a wonderful job. And after that, Dr. Battle, we're down to item 8. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And serving on this, and Joe and I both serving on district boards and serving the community is a blessing. And we just thank you for the opportunity. And look forward to Taylor, Kelly, and Chuck, and Mr. Hunt, Mr. Hayes coming in. Look forward to you working together as a board and recognizing that you are just one of 5. You're one of 5. And what you say here is important because it gets out in the community, and you'll find out that discussions are here and not out on the social work. And with that, Dr. Battle, we're down to board down to call your superintendent's report.
Yes, yes, sir. We've done a lot of wonderful things in celebrating our students, and I'll do respect the time. I won't go through it all, but as you heard, there was open house that was take care.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mom.
If you're a kid,
Anyone else would like to, please, now is the
if you
time.
want to make a run for the door, nobody feels bad.
It gets a lot worse here on out.
Thank you for being here. There's no emergencies, but if you'd like to leave, then you're more than welcome to. Thank you guys so very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
The rest of you need a new hobby or something.
Yes, most of them were. All right, pleasure. I'll send something out to you in our PC. But we've got, you'll see a couple of trips online where our Spirit Line and Casa Grande Union has done a phenomenal job and recognized and able to compete out of state. I believe it's in California. I remember that, correct? And also, I want you to know that I'm taking our student ambassadors to ASU Dreamscape with support of Jennifer Portson and staff, the assistant principals of student affairs. And again, it's access and exposure to college careers and how we learn, possibilities of different ways we're learning. And then also, I have to say, off the top of my head, we have a wonderful educator that I shared with you, but I want to share it publicly. We have initiated an instructional program, blended learning, self-paced, master-based learning, and a number of teachers have engaged and supported modifying their learning to personalize to improve individual learning outcomes. And this Amanda Sheeler is now, it's not an easy feat, is now a modern classroom mentor. And she is representing our district, not only statewide, but also in the country. So she's going to be an additional support, and Dr. Evans' department would not take her out of the classroom. I don't think she'd want to come out of the classroom, but she will be able to enhance our skill set because of the training that she has dedicated herself to. So with that said, I believe that's all. I'm done this evening, Mr. Hicks.
That is great. Thank you very much. An annual item that the board addresses is a board self-evaluation. It's a chance for the. I apologize. I had to call the public, but I didn't see we had any cards, so I apologize for sliding by that one. We're down to item 6, which is board self-evaluation. Something that the board does on an annual basis, kind of review how we've done. And just in general, our relations amongst ourselves, amongst staff, etc. And if anybody has any comments or any particular, otherwise we can file this, is what we normally do. I think there's probably just some basic comments. I think the board has worked well a lot of times together. It's been a struggle on different times. I think the board's relationship with the community, is an area that we definitely need to work on improvement. I think Dr. Battle is working on getting, and she's working on as the superintendent. Our relationship with the superintendent needs to be one of respect. And that you need to, you have concerns and issues that you bring them, try and follow. Chain of command is important. And that the board works through the superintendent to try and resolve issues and find out facts. Because there's a lot of disinformation out there. I guess one of the only things on general statements, when I enlisted an order of 4 priority challenges the board faces, I think the key things that I see ahead of us right now is social media disinformation. I see positive message versus a negative message, but there's a lot of positive things going within the school and the community, and we need to do a better job as a board and as promoting it. Need to work on a positive relationship with staff. And one of the key items is I just feel, especially in the country right now, one of the things, and I'm very glad that Dr. Strom and the staff have worked in bringing a fully staffed safety crew, because I just think the world right now is very, very strange. And I just think that safety is a key issue, that parents know when their kids go to school on a daily basis that they're in a safe environment, getting the best education possible. But I think those are kind of the last statements that I just wanted to make about that. And if not, anybody else, Taylor, you bet. Go ahead.
One thing that there's a whole survey here that we've been asked to fill out as board members. And at the end of the survey, it lists the board member standards. The last standard here is to keep focused on policy that supports and enhances student achievement, recognizing that the authority of the administration rests with the superintendent. And I think that there is a lot in that standard that speaks to challenges we have had as a board and challenges that we may continue to have looking forward. But one thing that I'm grateful for as a board member as I've come on the board is the mentorship of both Joe and Jack. And one thing that they had in common was a understanding that at the end of the day, what we do is about the students more than anything else. Every decision we make and is about bettering the lives of the kids we serve. It is often difficult as a board member recognizing, as Jack said, that I am one of 5, and that our educational system, as it is currently compromised in the state, is such that we don't have the resources to do everything or solve every problem. And often we are asked to make decisions that leave some people unhappy. We can't solve every problem every time. But one thing I've appreciated about their leadership is their willingness to focus directly on what will impact students. And I hope that looking forward as a board, we will keep kids as the primary focus of what we are trying to do. That doesn't, sometimes decisions we make won't be popular. But I rest easy at night knowing that what I have done as a board member has always been, or at least has tried to be, in support of kids. And if we can continue to maintain that as our focus, I think that we will be doing ultimately what we are called to do as members of the board.
May I add 2 things? On the board standards, which is something that's affected me greatly. Each board member should reflect on his or her own performance and behavior as part of an overall assessment of the board, the complete board. Individual assessment should be done after a period of private reflection. So you really got to look inward and see exactly where you're at in your own personal self. The second point I want to make is I make decisions based on what is best for the entire district, avoiding conflicts of interest, or more importantly, using my board position for personal or partisan gain. I think that's just so important for us to always keep in mind when we think of the standards that get put before us.
That's fine. That's, appreciate it. Kelly?
Yeah, I just had a couple of comments based on kind of our priorities that I felt were important. Kind of piggybacking on what Joe just said, I think the perception of what we're doing as a district and the board is not what some of the public sees. So I think we need to improve the perception of what the community sees in us. I believe we're doing a lot of great things. We're working through problems, but we're working towards the greater good. But that perception doesn't always relate to the public. And somehow we need to be better at that. Because perception is reality. And when you have that wrong perception, that then becomes the reality. I mean, CG Chat's the #1 go-to of that. Everything that people see on that, they think is reality, when we all know it's just a place to complain. I think we need to work on our two-way communication between teachers and the board. I know we're working on it. The work groups, I think, are really helping. I think we need to continue with that because we need to get buy-in, not only with the teachers, but we also need to get buy-in with the parents. And the education of sharing with the parents and the teachers of initiatives that we're working towards, I think is very important to have that clear communication and the buy-in on that. And then continuing to work on the culture within the schools, I think is very important. I think we need to look at that because I think that's something that's affecting some of the turmoil that we've been experiencing. So those are my thoughts on our evaluation.
That's good, appreciate that. Anyway, we normally just file this, as a board self-evaluation, so we appreciate that, and with that, we're gonna go ahead and check anything. Good to go. Excellent. We'll move down to item 7, items reserved for board action.
While Dr. Strong is preparing to share information about each of these, I think it's important because I guess, if we look back on previous agendas in other years, there may not have been as much information, but I just want to assure this board and the public that the majority of things that are on here are timely. They're required by law. And then also the timeliness that says if we're going to get board approval, there are some things that you all are aware from previous board meetings that we need to have on this agenda. So I just want to be really clear. There is nothing underhanded or sneaky. I don't even operate that way. That we are attempting to do other than inform and ask the board to respond accordingly. So with that said, Dr. Strong, would you please speak to 7A and continue on this as need be. When we get down to the calendar academic piece, then Dr. Eben will be able to speak to that along with myself.
Okay. Mr. President, members of the board, as discussed in the public hearing section, in accordance with 15905, the public hearing has been held for the presentation of the December budget revision. This is just annual business, happens every year in the school district. So we went through the public hearing with you. If there's any questions, we'll go at this time.
I move we approve the revised budget.
You have a motion before you to review the 2022-2023 revised budget. A motion by Chuck. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Taylor, second. Any other questions or discussion? If not, we'll call for the vote. Mary, please.
Okay, Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Harrington?
Yes.
We must be doing some home house cleaning right here. We have motion to the second reading and adoption of the SBA policy revision JLCB, immunization of students exempt. Just, we've clarified this a couple of times. These come down from the Arizona legislature and then are passed through ASBA and end up in each individual boards to adopt the policies.
Yes.
So to be clear, there's no COVID shot requirements on this policy.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any of that anywhere.
Okay, I'll move to approve.
I make a motion, we approve the second reading of PA 737738
I have a motion by Kelly and a second by Chuck. Is there any, if not, any other questions for that? We'll call for the vote, Mayor, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yep.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Item C is the Pinellas County School Officers Services Payroll 941 reporting. This is an annual.
Mr. President, members of the board, the county school superintendent office has always overseen our books. It's in every county in the state of Arizona. The Pinal County also can take over some of the regular duties that we've been doing as a district, including 941 reporting, which is our quarterly reporting for taxes to the federal government. And this district's just never taken advantage of it. So this is in order to have Pinal County start that process and get that off of a task list of someone in the business department to reduce the burden of the district for administrative load. This is the authorization to have county school superintendent take that on.
Okay, you've heard Dr. Strong's description of that. Is there a motion to approve that as presented?
So moved.
Second.
There was a motion by Chuck and a second by Taylor. Any other questions about that? This just is, Pinal County's doing quite a bit of our different things right now.
Correct.
May I call for the vote, please?
Okay, Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
You have item D, which is opening of a Wells Fargo clearing account for student activities. Dr. Strong?
Mr. President, members of the board, right now what's happening is our auxiliary account and our student activities account are all going into a singular account. And then from that singular account, we're having to reconcile books with our county books. And so it's been an advice of our auditor to separate deposits from auxiliary and student activities into two separate accounts. So when the reconciliation process occurs, that occurs in a much more smooth fashion, account to account, as opposed to two accounts, one account to two accounts of the county.
And the auditor recognizes us for cleaning up business.
That is correct.
Is there a motion to approve the opening of a Wells Fargo clearing
Joe had
account?
a quick question.
Sure,
Quick
Joe, go ahead.
question, Dr. Strong. Wells Fargo, how long have they been doing this as a choice for the school district in terms of other banking facilities? Wells Fargo has a nefarious background. I'm just curious as to how long they've been doing this.
Districts throughout the state of Arizona select a variety of different banks. And so we do have the ability to go with a variety of banks. The reason Wells Fargo is something we brought to you is because that's where the current auxiliary account is. So to have the student activities account in the same location as Wells Fargo, we put those accounts in alignment. I am not aware of how long we've been with Wells Fargo as a district. Is Gina here?
It's been many years, but county, they go out for a bid on our banking services. We have.
So that's something you can look at next year or something like that, I'm sure.
Correct.
That's great. Is there a motion to approve them clearing accounts for student activities?
I move.
Second.
Get one of them.
I got that. We're gonna cut, Joe, you covered on that one. I got a motion by Taylor and a second by Joe. Any other questions on that? We'll call for the vote, Mary.
Okay, Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes,
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
we're down to item E, which is terms for acceptance of monies for building renewal grant fund, OS Key Road. Oh my gosh, how many years old is that? And repairs at Vista Grande for chillers also.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is for the Alaska roofing. And the answer to your question is I believe the union building is about 28 years old at this point. The roof is really, quite frankly, starting to fail. And so this is emergency roof repairs for the Olowski. And I will tell you that Mr. Warlock and his team have been working diligently with the SFOB and our representative from the SFOB, Mr. Kennan, to get the whole roof replaced at Union. We're not to final approval, but we do think we're in really good shape to get the whole roof paid for through a state grant. And that's just, if we don't keep up with the process at the SFOB, someone else comes in line and they take your place in the money. About $260 million was allotted to building renewal grants this year. And so you want to get your bids in early throughout the year so your grants can get granted. So we're hoping this follows up with a $3.99 million roof replacement at Union to be included with the Olowski. And the tab you're seeing at the bottom where you reference the chillers, we just want the board aware of of everything that Mr. Bellock's department's gotten in terms of funds. If we don't get these funds, you have to pay for it out of capital or go out to the public for a bond. And so, your taxpayers are either gonna pick up the bill or your capital is gonna need to pick up the bill. And, so these grants become necessary for districts to survive.
So Mr. Bell, keep on sharpening his pencil and ask for as much money as he can get. So, is there a motion to approve for the OS key roof as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Chuck.
I will second that.
Joe got another one. Second by Joe. Any other questions? We'll call for the vote.
I would like to ask Mr. Belloc if you notice any continued roof leaking in the Olasky after the last 2 days of rain we had this weekend.
Yes, we actually had to come in on Sunday and start working there. We brought the team members in, and then also 4 a.m. on Monday morning to continue those efforts to have everything up and running for as many weeks as we have.
We should get that thing fixed.
We should. Based on that, I call for the Mayor, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Item item F was a memorandum of understanding between Horizon Health and Wellness, support the behavioral health care and wellness services of students.
Mr. President, we're a typical mental health services agreement with another institution that comes in and helps us with those behavioral supports.
Is there a motion for the memorandum of understanding with Horizon Health and Wellness?
I move.
Taylor moved. Is there a second? Kelly seconded. Any other questions, discussion? If not, Mayor, would you call for the vote, please?
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Item G is a cell tower site amendment for T-Mobile, Casa Grande Union High School. If you want to describe a little bit, hopefully they're giving us more money and better service.
Mr. President, members of the board, unfortunately, this is not a renegotiation of a 15-year lease. This is simply they want to come in and replace their equipment. In order to do so, we got to make amendments to their original. So they're going to be on campus replacing their equipment, microwave dish, collar mount, stabilizer arm, things along those lines. But we eagerly await the opportunity to renegotiate our 15-year contract with them.
Yeah, that's it. You have a motion before you to accept the cell tower amendment for T-Mobile.
I move to accept.
Joe moves, second. Chuck seconded. Any other discussion or question? We'll go ahead and call for the vote, Mayor, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
ESA memorandum of understanding for ECF funds to provide 5G on school buses.
Mr. President, members of the board, this has been a grant Pinal County's been working on for quite a little bit. So this is just typical business coming through and they've been granted the funds for the emergency connectivity fund that they desired. We have provided, since the onset of the pandemic, connectivity on our buses, but it's been through these PACs that provide that service. These are actually provided by the county and are mounted onto the buses. The advantage of this is then that's going to be able to link into the 5G network that the county is putting up, and therefore we will have an opportunity to link into the county's 5G network, and all of our monthly fees go away because the county's network to us will be free. So we're going to move from the PACs to bus mounted material. Thank you very much to our third party vendor Durham for being able to work with us. Angel Alvarez and IT department worked hard on this along with Mrs. Ogle. And we just wanted to thank them for helping get this grant to us through the county.
That's awesome. Motion to approve that for the 5G on school buses.
So
Kelly moved.
Second.
There was a tie. Second by Taylor. And yeah, I did, and we just want to say thank you. I mean, the district during those times where they used to go park buses out on different places where we even have a Wi-Fi hotspot so they can at least try and work. So this will be great. I mean, you hate to know that kids are on buses for 2 hours time, et cetera, but at least they'll have connectivity, et cetera. Call for the question, Mayor, please.
Okay. Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
yes.
Then item I, which is the guaranteed GMP for the PACE renovation. Dr. Strong.
Mr. President, members of the board, over the course of the last 18 months, as mentioned in the study session, There's been several presentations, grant dollars gotten through the venture grant fund for PACE to open as a school here at the district office. Hopefully in the first year, servicing 125 kids and growing to 500 kids. Then September 6th of this year, we issued a PACE RFP with board approval and gave CMAR release. We then awarded that CMAR on November 1st, 2022 to Chase Construction, and on November 1st awarded the architect to DLR, national firm in architecture, to come in and design. That's who rendered the video this evening and who rendered your diagrams this evening. Now we're to the point where we've worked through pricing with both DLR and Chase. The advantage of the CMAR process is that Chase and DLR are working on how to value engineer items. Why do we use this material versus that material? Why do we use this lighting kit versus that lighting kit? Why do we use this sound panel versus that sound panel? And their value engineering has got us right into our budgetary capacity, which is going to be shared amongst Fund 510. To use Fund 510, you have to apply to the Arizona Department of Education. The Arizona Department of Education and the Nutrition Department has to approve the expenditure of those funds. So we're hoping to get that through the process. Chase and DLR are working with us on our submittals to the Nutrition Department at the ADE so we can get approval to use Fund 510, and then capital carry forward dollars. This is a GMP of $1.509 million to renovate approximately 9,000 square feet of space, putting our renovation costs underneath $200 a square foot. From my prior experience in building new schools, you build a new school nowadays after all the inflation around $350 to $400 a square foot, and tenant improvements like this, like renovations, typically run between 60 to 90% of ground up costs. So we think this is a very competitive and fair price at $1.5 million for 9,000 square feet of renovation.
You mentioned earlier that there's no commingling of monies on the.
Yeah, so the definition of commingling is I own business one and I own business two, and we're gonna purchase a company car across a portion of business one's money and a portion of business two's money. Commingling in this case doesn't exist because it's not commingling, it's split funding is what we call it. And split funding simply means we're gonna attempt to fund a portion of this project out of Fund 510 where we have $2.9 million of carry forward. And as you recall, we covered in previous board meetings, you're only allowed to carry 3 months worth of expenditures by federal law in that fund. So we have a time of probably about 2 years before the AD starts saying, you're carrying forward too much money, right? And so we're gonna apply to the AD, see if we can use funds from there. We know we already can use capital funds to do these projects as allowed by USFR and the World System of Financial Records. And so we're hoping to split fund the project.
You have a motion before you to approve the GMP of 1.5 for PACE renovation for student space at Escon. Is there a motion?
Question?
Joe, you bet.
Initially, when this came up in the planning stages, excuse me, I was reluctant to approve it because I didn't feel it was necessary to do this renovation. I just thought we could just bring the kids in on the first start and then we could move forward with that. But after hearing Ms. Crystal Danzy's presentation today, I'm firmly convinced that this is definitely necessary and prudent.
Okay, would you like to make that motion then?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve the guaranteed maximum price GMP of $1,509,816 for PACE renovation for student space at 1362 North Casa Grande Avenue, Arizona, 85122 as presented.
There's a motion.
I'll second.
So you get every last word.
There's a motion by Joe and a second by Kelly. Any other discussions or questions? If not, we'll call for the vote, Mary, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
I've had some questions about this program too, and I think I've made my concerns known in Mrs. Danzy's presentation this evening, which was very good. But I still have some questions on how we're rolling this project out, and how we it may need to be tweaked for sure. I'm sure we can do that if we need to. But I think it's a good start to create the additional school. And but I think I've got some concerns, but I will vote yes.
Yes.
Motion passes. We're down to item J, which is the 2022-23 salary schedule for at-will employees.
Mr. President, members of the board, Casa Grande Union High School District continues to emphasize in the IBM process the importance of maintaining financially viable organization while continuing to offer competitive wages in a short labor, low unemployment market. Districts throughout the great metropolitan area up in Phoenix have matriculated over the last 2 decades to step with salary schedules to attract high quality talent in all positions throughout the organization. This salary schedule and incentive plan received consensus from the IBN through our voting process with support from classified representatives who this schedule and incentive plan affects. To be clear, the salary schedule contains ranges that are inclusive of all current employee rates in these job classifications. The stepless schedule simply allows CGUHSD to move forward with percentage raises or flat raises, as opposed to having to dump money into the salary schedule and then also fund movement across the schedule. That's why most people have moved away from step salary schedule systems. And so you get a percentage raise or a flat raise on an employee basis every single year. Attached are the documents that HR has put forth, and I just want to make sure everyone understands that this did move through the IBM process.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Is this the same topic that I talked about earlier that I received an email today about, where a person was saying that this was not going to be a fair, equitable plan, or was this a different one?
The one that the person was referencing in that email that you received is item K.
Okay.
K.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and the consensus was at IBM among classified staff that this was the direction that they would like to go forward with?
Correct, and the way IBM works is all voting members and groups get a vote on the path, and we receive thumbs up across the voting members and groups.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, I know that you've spoken to this a little bit, just to make it very clear. So I've worked at a school that had a step salary schedule. I've worked at one that didn't. And when I made the transition from one that did to one that didn't, there's a little bit of apprehension. It's kind of nice to look forward and see what your salary will be in 10 years. What if you could just speak a little bit, just to reiterate the motivation for moving away from a salary schedule? I know you just spoke a little bit to this. And just to answer the question, no one is going to be moving backwards in terms of their salary as a result of moving away from a different kind of salary schedule.
Correct, no one's moving backwards in pay as a result of this salary schedule. Two things to mention really. The reason we've seen a lot of the East Valley districts move to stepless is simply to attract employees. When you say, hey, we're on a step system and we're not going to bring you in any higher than step 3, you are not going to get employees to apply to your district. Okay, so another reason systems have moved to this, and I was in a system where I was on a step salary system as a teacher in Chandler, and we moved while I was a teacher in Chandler to a stepless system. And Mr. Worth, the CFO up there, will tell you that if you're having to dump your new monies into a salary schedule and then honor people's steps and honor their horizontal advancement, that's why so many districts used to freeze people on the salary schedule. So in Gilbert Unified, right, when I was the very first 4-year teacher, I stayed at step 0 for 4 straight years, right? And the reason I stayed at step 0 is because the district had to make a choice, right? Some years their choice was open a new school or fund the salary schedule. And Gilbert was growing, so they'd open a new school, right? Other years, their choice was, we're either gonna dump our new monies into the salary schedule and keep the people on step 0, or we're not gonna dump any new money into the salary schedule and people are gonna go from step 0 to step 1. But very rarely did you get both, where you get money dumped into the salary schedule and you get all your movement. And so this helps eliminate the freezing conversation year over year.
Thank you. I think it's very helpful. No, it's very good. Appreciate it.
Okay, are there any other questions? If not, do we want to call for as approved by the end, call for the vote on the will for.
We don't have a motion or a second.
What's that?
We don't have a motion or a second.
That's what I'm asking. Is
Oh, I
it-
thought you said you called for a vote, sorry.
They have them now, me and them.
There's a motion by Taylor and a second by Joey. Any other
Sorry.
questions? If not, we'll call for the vote. Mary.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes,
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
and we're down to item K, which is for exempt employees with the same.
It is the same exact concept. The exempt employees are currently within these ranges. No one is getting a raise with this new salary schedule. No one is getting a reduction with the new salary schedule. The IBM team knows that this spring, we will be talking about new monies and how to administer those new monies through a raise package. Now, if the board approves this exempt salary schedule, which received consensus at IBM, the conversation for exempt employees will be centered around, do you give an ongoing raise? Do you give a one-time raise? Do you give a percentage raise? Do you give a flat raise? And so, maybe a solution set is we give $1,000 flat raise to the people on the exempt program. Now that we're on item K, the issue from today is, what happens when someone reaches the top end, right? And what happens to their retirement when someone reaches the top end, okay? So let's talk through that a little bit. First of all, stepped salary schedules all have maximums. You cannot, in public school education in Arizona, get away without having a maximum, okay? You can't let your top end just run wild and say, hey, you're gonna get 3% compounded for 30 years, right? If you get brought in at the top end, you get 3% compounded for 30 years, you're gonna break a district across all those employees eventually, okay? So the solution set here is one that's been deployed in other areas, and it's simply, if you're at the maximum because the IBM team decides to add $2,000 to salaries. So let's say the maximum is $90,000 and you're at $89,000 for your job classification. Well, all of a sudden they add $2,000, you're at $91,000, you're over the maximum. What's the district gonna do? The district's gonna say, your salary ongoing is $90,000, the maximum, and to not affect your retirement, we're gonna give you a one-time payment of $1,000. So if you get the full $2,000, I'm trying to do simple numbers here, right? But 90 of it's ongoing, and 1,000 of it is one time. Now that 1,000 is treated like any other type of compensation and gets calculated in your retirement, right? So yeah, it's like a one-time bonus. Okay, now what you lose in that, just to be fully transparent, I would like to be transparent, just tell the truth. What you lose in that is when you're at the maximum, right? You lose the compounding of 3% raise, then another 3% raise, because the top end every year in this district, whether Matt Strom's here or Matt Strom's not here, every year in this district, in front of the spring IBM team, the salary schedule should come in front of the spring IBM team. And the spring IBM team should be evaluating how much money do we want to dump into raising the minimum, so you can attract new employees, and raising the maximum. So a $90,000 maximum this year might be a $90,500 maximum next year. Might be a $91,000 maximum next year. Might be a $91,500 maximum next year. What the IBM team is going to have to determine in the spring is they're going to have to determine how much of the new monies do you want to use to raise the minimum and raise the maximum. One thing I will warn anyone in salary schedule development against is you can't just raise the minimum and raise the maximum by 3% each. It's just simple math. Let's say the range is $50,000 to $100,000. 3% of $50,000 is $1,500. You're going to raise the minimum to $51,500. 3% of $100,000 is $3,000. You're going to raise the maximum to $103,000. If you take up your mins and maxes by the same percentage, your range is just going to get wider and wider and wider and wider every year. That's actually what has occurred in step salary schedule systems from the 60s to the 90s, right? They got wider and wider, and all of a sudden what happens is what started as the veteran person in a job category making 1.5 times as much as the newbie, right? Becomes the veteran person in a job category making 2.5 times as much as them. Okay? And you want to honor years of experience, but economically and survival and a financial world of Arizona education, you want to have your eyes wide open in that really, this job classification only takes 9 months to master. This job classification only takes 3 years to master. This job classification, your teacher, takes 10 years to master, right? And so as your mastery to job satisfaction becomes larger and larger, maybe your ranges do need to be wider and wider. But they shouldn't get wider and wider every year by administering a percent raise to the bottom and a percent raise to the top.
But, and I guess the bottom line is, this is something that IBM can look at with our numbers and in a congenial mode where people can walk through it and say, this is where we're at, et cetera, and kind of discuss, this are the dollars and how do you want it to go forward. So that cap that the person was concerned about, of where she's at, is something that can be long, looked at, recognizing that individuals, this may impact individuals, and how do you go forward and get around?
Correct.
And it's new, and I appreciate all the discussion and all the work of the IBN. We want to assure you, and we know the direction of this board is our desire to support the fact that we don't want to put any of our staff members in harm's way. So I think the more we utilize this new experience to our district anyway, we will continue to educate and talk to and meet with staff as they desire to help them better understand. And it may bring something to our attention we need to think about.
But after the IBM presentation the other day, that everybody came and spoke, I was approached in the parking lot and said that IBM had gone in the best fashion that it had ever been. Folks were very appreciative of having numbers, true numbers, factual numbers put in front of them, where everybody, certified, classified, all levels of people could see where money was being spent, where money was going, where, individuals were, getting, and that they all had a chance and a voice at that table to kind of weigh in and be part of the discussion, as opposed to just kind of taking what was left at the end of the night. So I think working where you're headed towards is the key thing. And I, for Taylor, and I think when we approved it the previous months, getting entry level, and I know we're kind of talking the wrong one right now, but getting entry level teachers coming into the district salaries up to a reasonable number that they can, maybe attempt to try and live on, or not live on, but at least get started on, is a huge thing. But we're on item K, which is for the exempt employees to adopt the salary schedule as presented. Is there a motion after the discussion we've had to approve that?
I'll move.
There's a motion and a second. Any other questions? And this was per IBN also. They approved this also. So, Mayor will call for the vote, please.
Okay, Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennessy?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And Ms. Harrington?
Yes.
We're down to item L, which is a salary schedule of special services employees.
And you're gonna realize why these are separated, and it does make the agenda look longer in 1 second here, because we did not get to consensus on one, which is fine. We'll still work through the IBM process and try to move through the process and get feedback in the spring. One other thing I did want to mention at this point in time is we thoroughly examined across several districts these ranges. And I know the administrative one's coming up in a second here. So you can look at ranges across several districts go to a unified district and look at their principal ranges. A high school principal always makes more than a junior high principal, and a junior high principal always makes more than an elementary principal. And there's reasons for that. It's not just random. It is the time it takes to be a high school principal is significantly more than the time it takes to be a junior high principal, and it's significantly more. I was talking to an athletic director, who's still a friend of mine from a former district, last night. And he said, Matt, I've had 4 nights last week where I was at school every night. And, in the high school process, you gotta honor the fact that occurs. The reason I'm bringing this all up is we compared ranges across the elementary school district and said, what are their support services people? Where are their principals at? Okay, well, the elementary range in Casa Grande's here for a principal, then the high school range has got to be here to be competitive. Same thing goes with things like speech language pathologists. And to bring up an example of maximums, they weren't random. The last maximum for speech language pathologists at a master's degree is $91,939. The maximum here for speech language pathologists is $92,500. right? So that amount has gone up, not down. And so we'll continue to work with IBM to examine these ranges every single year. And what you want to do in examining is also look at your market. Look at the elementary school district. Look at Mission Prep. Look at Mission Heights. Look at East Valley where you're competing against and go, can we even be competitive against these districts that are trying to attract the same people we're going to attract? And so I need to make sure that that was stated on the special services because some comments have come in to us today.
Okay. Yeah, the salary schedule for special services employees, and then is there a motion after that comment to approve those as presented?
I move.
Second. I have a motion by Taylor and a second by Joe. Any other questions on that? If not, Mayor, we'll go ahead and call for that vote, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
Then item N, which is administrative employees and the same step-less salary schedule?
Yep, Mr. President, members of the board, yes, same step-less salary schedule. I just want to make one little comment on this because we received a comment today centered around some of these administrative salary ranges have gone up, and they have. Once again, let me reiterate, no one administrator is getting a raise out of this, right? Every administrator we have are within that range. So why would you raise the high school principal range? It was 82 to 104. Why would you raise that range? The middle school principal for the elementary school range is 86, 850 to 119, 935, right? If you want to be competitive in your market, you're going to have to be able to say to principals, listen, the deal is you're going to spend way more time on high school campus, dances on Saturday, and so we're going to make sure that your top end is a little higher than the elementary school's top end. Does that make sense to you? And so, once again, the current principals are already within the range. They're not getting a raise out of this package. My salary, let's talk personally a little bit here, is already in that range, right? To be frank, I'm kind of be real frank. Is it okay if I'm super frank here? It's disadvantageous for me personally to be on a salary schedule. I should come to you every year and negotiate my salary, right? This district will not financially survive, right? If you let an assistant superintendent not be top end. You've got to put a top end on it, right? And so I personally recommend it to IBM where the top end goes and I'm within that range and I'm not catching a raise out of this package. And so why is that? The range wasn't random. Your superintendent gets paid X. I can't make more than the superintendent. The superintendent's the second hardest position in the district behind the high school principal's job. So, sorry, I know you're all right. I just want to make sure everyone understands that the ranges put on this administrative salary schedule, A, do not result in any administrator getting a raise, right? That'll be negotiated in the spring. And B, we're taking into cross consideration of other school districts. One last final example, and I know I'm talking a lot.
It's important, we want to view you with information to share.
Yeah, I'm trying to just make sure facts get out there.
That's
The
right.
high end range for a principal, high school principal in Chandler to Comprehensive High School is 151, right? The high end range at Queen Creek Unified for a high school principal at a comprehensive high school is 147. So compare that to what's being proposed. I think it's 125 on your sheet in front of you. Once again, no one's giving ranges, but those ranges were not just come up with at a random, oh, we want to help people out.
Sure.
That we're connected to.
One thing I see missing on here is the board members.
That is a $0.
That's the hidden step salary schedule.
There you go.
The bottom is 0 and the top is 0.
It's my understanding also, we did some math looking at, per day,
Your synopsis that you
Hourly
sent
rate
this
of
morning.
pay, he can talk to them.
yeah, if you want to speak to that just a little bit, I think that's helpful.
So, Mr. Kirby, Dr. Battle has directed me to put together a presentation for study session in January with the board. Okay. In that study session, we're going to share some information we shared at IBM. And the information we shared was examples of employee from 21, 22 to 23. And then comparing employees' daily rates of pay and hourly rates of pay. And one thing, and listen, I didn't get into education coverage. 26 years in, I didn't get into coverage. I want to live enough off with my family, right? But no one's going to become wealthy in this industry. And here's why I bring that all up, because the daily rates of pay of some people, because they only work a work calendar of 186 days versus someone works 206 versus someone works 216. When you look at the data, you start to go, oh, is this right? For example, an assistant principal may be making $390 as their daily rate of pay, while a teacher is making $510 as their daily rate of pay. Well, HR-wise, when you examine responsibilities, let's get off the time thing. When you're examining responsibilities and risks, it's a much riskier position to be in an AP job, right? And you have more responsibilities in AP. So is it right and correct to have a teacher making $510 a day while an assistant principal is making $390? And then someone might say back, well, look at the AP salaries, they're making more money. Well, they're making more money because they're on a 261-day work calendar, not on a 186-day work calendar. They're giving up 75 more days of their life, or they're giving up 61 days of their life. And so we're going to bring that analysis to the board in January. And once again, the IBM will work through that process in the spring to determine what's fair and what's equitable.
Okay, but you still have item M, which is the salary schedule for administrative employees as presented. Is there a motion?
Second.
There's a motion by Kelly and a second by Chuck. Any other questions? If not, Mayor, we'll call for the vote on that, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
We're down to item N, which is the 2022-2023 certified salary schedule.
Mr. President, members of the board, we could not get to consensus on a stepless salary schedule for teachers and are certified. And so we'll still work through that process in the spring. We'll keep bringing it back to IBM, see if we can get a common understanding on IBM. In the meantime, at the last board meeting, a $9,000 base salary addition increase. It's really not new monies. Let's be real clear on that. A $9,000 increase was administered through Fund 10. It's for $13,989 to support the base salary. This now is the next step that needs to come back to you so we can start recruiting in January for new teachers. And that is to add $9,000 to every cell in the salary schedule. Once again, not new money. The $9,000, we didn't call it a raise on purpose. It's an increase to base salary, not a raise. It's not new money, not additional money being added. We're just choosing to allocate it into the salary schedule and outside of a 3-page document that used to exist in the system.
David?
I move.
I second.
Any other questions? This gets an entry-level teacher at what salary?
$50,615.
Having come from, well, where we were at before.
38,000.
41,041.
This is a huge step forward and a huge achievement for the district.
Needs to do something as that was not correct. Any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and call for the vote, please.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
That's tremendous. And look forward to IBM and you continuing to work with clarity and in congeniality with the groups and keeping all of the groups apprised of the numbers and how it affects them, because each of them needs to have a voice, period. We're down to O, which is spring band stipends.
Mr. President, we're trying to get to a common stipend schedule. You've had 3 of these before you, and to be quite frank, I missed spring band stipends. And so this is an item to say these are traditionally paid stipends, and we need to bring it back prior to pay. We can't pay people without you guys' approval. So.
Make a motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Kelly and a second by Taylor to approve the stipends as presented, spring stipends. Quick question. the district has a lot of stipends paid to teachers. So a long time ago, when I was on the board one time, each stipend required a kind of a detail of what would be done underneath that stipend. Each individual had to, there were certain duties, et cetera, that had to be performed, or expectations. Essentially, it wasn't just a free check. Because I've heard a couple of things kind of floating out there, that there's some people that have taken stipends and with expectations on programs that should be done for the kids that have not been done. And so I'm just trying to figure out, what are the expectations, and when somebody signs up for this stipend, what's the expectation for them receiving it?
No, very good, and that's a very good question. And as we've had a chance to evaluate the stipends that exist, we want to be consistent, but also Dr. Strong has put together a committee, I believe, is meeting next week to discuss stipends as a district. So to that end, we cannot say that every stipend or every position has fully vetted of all requirements, but that is where we're going. Mr. Hennis, absolutely. But meanwhile, we didn't want to put anyone in harm's way to not receive what they expected, but there will be parameters around that. What you're sharing is what I've experienced, not only as a teacher, coach, administrator, and also superintendent of the school district. We need to know what are the guidelines in number, the amount of time spent, is it equitable programmatically? Are there revenues coming in? Are they not coming in? All of those aspects need to be considered, and we'll have that working towards that end. It's a heavy lift, but we're working toward that end starting next week.
Okay, that was my question. We already have we just need to approve, call for the vote, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
We're down to item P, which is academic calendars.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Hennis. To that end, again, just so we know each other, we've had a chance, to be honest with you, last year, unfortunately, we had some illnesses that weren't able to get with our feeder schools, staff, to start calendars, so we're a little behind in that, as we're working with our district administrator staff committee, but also our feeder schools, Coltex and Bill Casper Elementary. I want to commend Dr. Even for her efforts to that end. And also what I'm used to is sending out, if you will, information to our staff, especially if we're in a space of not uncertainty. And you'll see where 24, 25 is going to be a little bit different than we have in the past. 2022, I'm not stealing a thunder, 22, 23 looks pretty close. But I think out of all fairness, in the IBM meeting that I attended, part of it, there was some discussion relative to interest in a 4-day work week. And before Dr. Even speaks, we're here to say, and there was agreement, that if that is directed to the board to look into, then there would be thorough analysis, evaluation, implications presented all the way around, study sessions and all kinds of good things, because ultimately, said so well earlier, we're here for student learning. And so we do not want to implement something that will impact in an unintentional way that I'm sure no one wants that. So with that said, I think it's important that this board knows that was a part of the discussion yesterday. And I will say, while there was there was a consensus, is that fair? Correct. To say that we would wait to evaluate and determine if this board is interested in us looking further into it. And that's not an action item.
And I believe if the synopsis also addressed it, even if it were to, the earliest it potentially could be would be like 25, 26 or something like that, 3 years out from now.
We shared with the IBM committee that administratively, after you study for a year, the most likely year, if the board was to so choose to move to that option, would be 25, 26. However, we left it open-ended that if the study committee comes back to the board with whatever study sessions and that happens by December/January of 23, 24, we can keep our eyes open on 24, 25, but administratively, it's going to be rough to implement. I was clear, it's going to be rough to implement 24, 25 if that's the recommendation of the committee and the will of the governing board.
And I asked you the other day, how many high schools in the state of Arizona are on a 4-day schedule. And I believe you said you thought there were 0?
Yeah, the one I can remember is Apache Junction. You finally went to it and gotten off, got sent back off because they lost some students in their ADM capture game. So to my current knowledge, the answer, besides maybe like Eloy.
Santa Cruz.
Eloy, Santa Cruz, was a very small school. And the reason it ends up being tough at the high school level is because Friday you run activities in there also. You run activities all day, you have football games nights on Fridays, and it just ends up being a more intricate conversation for high schools to go that direction.
There are other non-public high schools that.
Correct.
And Mary, the district, we looked at a 4-day.
2008 results.
The district looked at a 4-day school and had hearings and in 2008, when I was on the board a long time ago, and came to the consensus that there was concern among the community of pandemonium in the streets.
I won't tell you what was
All right,
said.
that's probably the nicest thing I said. That's kind of the nicest thing.
Happily, it is not an action item tonight.
So anyway,
Yeah.
with all that, I apologize. Joanna, you are on.
No apologies needed. Good evening, President Thomas and members of the board. What you see before you are 2 calendars for approval. These calendars were created through several meetings with the calendar committee representing multiple teacher groups, staff groups, and with the support of Mary and helping us pull together all of the documents as well. And we considered at the center, of course, what we need in order to meet student learning needs. We also considered teacher requests and recommendations around when the breaks would fall. We also collaborated with our feeder districts and had conversations with them to ensure as much alignment as possible. And as I believe Dr. Battle mentioned previously, 23-24 was a pretty easy calendar to come up with in alignment with the current parameters that we're using to create our calendars. And so that one was easy to come to consensus in the team. For 24-25, just because of where the dates fall, where the holidays fall, and are wanting to have equity in first semester and second semester, the same number of days in both semesters, or close to, it was a little bit trickier. And so we did propose 2 options, one of which would have to go past Memorial Day, and the second one, which eliminates an October 2-week break. You have 1 week in October and then 1 week at Thanksgiving. So we did put the 24-25 calendar out for feedback from our staff. And we received, you can see the results on the agenda, but we received 50 responses, and 32 of those were either for draft 2 or no preference. And draft 2, which was the 1 week of fall break and 1 week at November break. So that is the calendar that we are putting forward for you this evening. One note I would like to share, I received some feedback right before this evening's meeting, that the early release days are not noted on the calendar documents that you see in front of you. Our plan is to continue with our Wednesday early release dates. So those should be shaded in green. The plan is to continue with the Wednesday early release.
That you'll stay with.
Yes.
We have a motion, we have an action item to approve the 2023, 2024, and 2024 and 2025 academic calendars as presented. A motion, there's a motion by Chuck, second.
I'll second.
Taylor seconded. Any other questions? If not, Mary, we'll go ahead and call for the vote.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
We are down to a consent agenda. You have items A through J.
I move we approve A through J in its entirety.
I second.
Just one question on there, just for clarity, where it says course additions down there, there's a lot of been different concerns about, do you want to describe kind of a little bit about what the course addition is that's coming in there?
Yes, and Renee's gonna come and speak to the Avid course and the reason why it needs to be brought to you.
Great.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board President Hess and board members. So AVID is a national and it's actually an international program. It's advanced via individual determination. That's what AVID stands for. It is really geared towards first generation college going students. What we know about entering any sort of leveling up in our society is that you kind of need a guide. You need somebody to kind of help you with the lingo, the how-tos, the ins and outs, the hidden rules. And entering university and entering college is no different. And so what AVID strives to do is to take first generation college going students, and it can be done at elementary, it can be done at the middle. We are looking to start this at the high school. And what it does is it gives them the very basic skills of organization, understanding the ins and outs of university, the language and how to speak university, how to speak college, how to specifically take Cornell notes, note-taking and interacting with text in a very college-specific manner, how to use lessons and very specifically know how to interact with the university college level platforms. And so that and really most importantly, putting students on university campuses. Because the more students are actually on university campuses, they can envision themselves belonging there. It is a high energy level type of teacher that you look for to interact with these students. And then they interweave these methodologies into all classes. AVID then becomes a part of a way of learning that you permeate into all courses within your campus, so that eventually you could become an AVID campus. Right now we're instituting College Mondays across our campus to become college-going thinkers, but it is an elective that is very, very specific. You open it almost with no students in it because they have to apply for the course. They get interviewed to be in the course, and it is based on a contract to maintain the course, and they are monitored. Their teacher becomes almost like their case manager that watches their grades, watches how they interact with their other classes, and it really is about maintaining the GPA, getting all the points for being able to be eligible to four-year university. It is, it can really be a leverage course. Yes?
Sure.
I know of one other school in town that uses that, that's Mission Heights. Are there any other schools that use it?
Currently, as we're working with other of our other feeder districts, we're not aware that they're using it, but Castle Grant Elementary.
The Mission Heights uses it.
I was not aware, but the elementary, okay, the elementary district.
As of the end of last year, they were using it.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I might too, thank you, you've done a fantastic job of that. What's really important too is you all have charged us to address the academic performance, and AVID has great success rate because of the rigor and preparedness that Renee has said. So we need to and want to start that. It's evolving. There's a plan in place. We've had some training. You all have approved some staff to be trained. And as you know, we've got some amazing initiatives that are coming together quite nicely, and this will help to cap it.
I tell you what, every college kid essentially should have, that has a particular bent. I mean, just with all of that should almost have that kind of, understanding or have that kind of course, just so that understand that, if your choice is a four-year school, that you understand, because otherwise you suddenly you go from I'm a big fish in a pond to you're just a drop in the bucket.
So in my previous life, I had AVID on my campus as a principal, and it really starts out with that core elective. And as you build your program, like I said, it becomes part of your campus, and you use those strategies campus-wide, and you become an AVID campus, college-going campus, and that's where we were able to take it. We were almost at a demo school. It's something I'd really be interested in bringing Castle Grande Union, district-wide.
Thank you for that, Brett. And that was my question. I just wanted, when it says course additions in here, we've had, the concerns from parents or the public that somehow we're slipping courses here or doing stuff, CRT or other kind of extreme courses at the high school that are not part of our curriculum, that are not part of the state curriculum, that are not part of any curriculum known to mankind. And the question always comes up, so I just wanted to make sure that everything is open, above reproach. If anybody has questions about it, it's there and there, anytime they can ask questions about it, so.
Jack, I just want to say two things really quickly about this program. First is that it is an incredibly common class.
Yes.
I mean, it's all over the state, it's all over the nation. This is not unique in any way. It will not be unique in any way to our district. The second thing I just wanted to say at a very personal level, when I was student teaching, my mentor teacher was an ADVID instructor. And a lot of the strategies have been very useful for me growing professionally. And the last thing is just, I personally am a first generation college graduate. And I wish so much that I had known that this was available to me at my high school, and I didn't know. I wish so much that I had a mentor to kind of help bridge the gap that I had to do alone. So there's a lot of good work that this program will do for our kids, many of whom are unaware of the opportunities that they have.
Thank you. It's a wonderful bridge. It's a wonderful bridge. Thank you.
That's perfect, and we've already, all we need to do is call for the vote.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Lopez?
Yes.
Mr. Hennis?
Yes.
Mr. Wright?
Yes.
And Mrs. Harrington?
Yes.
We are adjourned, thank you. Oh, Joe, go ahead.
Sorry,
Hang on. Gotcha,
Patient.
Captain.
I have a final motion that I need approval on before I exit stage left. I'd like to make a motion to approve the acceptance of a senior board member to exhibit emotion, and that it's perfectly acceptable.
And we're adjourned.
And did everybody sign vouchers?